Karen,
Yes.
some people love to go to art museums.
A lot of people do.
A lot of them do.
Mhm.
But, I don't think all of them want to be painters.
You're right. Some just enjoy the art.
Right. Some people just like to enjoy the art. Now, lots of people like to go to psychics too,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't necessarily want to learn to be psychic themselves, right?
Well, sure.
Right. The problem is that there's no better business bureau for psychics, right? So people like you and I, well, we're on our own when it comes to finding the right person.
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah. Well, today's show is going to give you the psychic yellow brick road so that you can find the real wizards from the flying monkeys. I wish I could take credit for that one, but I can't.
Oh, man.
Welcome to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Today's special guest is Corbie Mitleid, who is a certified tarot master, a psychic medium, a teacher, and an ordained minister. Yep. Now, she's been reading for over 50 years, which by the look of her means she started when she was just born, literally. And she's a full-time intuitive counselor with clients worldwide. She's so legit, Karen, that Robert Schwartz features her work as a channel and a past life expert in his breakthrough series on karma and pre-birth planning, Your Soul's Plan.
Oh.
Now, she's also the author of the hugely popular book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and she's here to help us discern between the true and the poo. Welcome to the show, Corbie.
It's great to be here. Thanks for asking.
Now, if you laughed at that joke I made at the very beginning of the show, the credit goes 100% to Corbie, because that is actually the name of her book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road.
How to find the real wizards and avoid the flying monkeys.
I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, I didn't.
Let the experts talk.
Absolutely. Corbie, we are excited to have you on the show because this is a passion topic of ours, something we've talked about before, but not quite as extensively as I think we're going to talk about it today.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, we want to talk to you about your book because I'm super intrigued. Thank you for the digital copy. I'm looking forward to finishing that book. Now, the question that comes directly to mind is there's a lot of these types of books out there. So what makes this one so special?
Because there actually aren't. What there are books on psychic development, how you can do what I do. And, about 20% of them are, and yes, and I, the author, am the only one you're supposed to trust. Oh, forget it. My tagline on the back is good psychic guidance is art. Don't settle for a forgery.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are not books out there that say, this is what we can do. This is what we can't. Here are some questions to ask. This is when to run away. And the book happened because of something that I saw, about 18 years ago now, in a huge Canadian psychic fair. I was on the road for 18 years, 45 weekends a year on the road, 45,000 miles on the car. My nickname was the Travel Channel. So, smaller fairs, especially when you've got good promoters, they vet us. They know who's good.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got 250 booths, someone's going to slip through. So across from me at this fair was one of the fake gypsies. And we all know what they're like. They wear the long skirts and the headscarves and the jingling jewelry, and they do bad asking, and they can be gypsy too, So there was a woman walking down the aisle looking at all of us, and the fake gypsy runs out and grabs her arm. And in psychic show parlance, this is called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking. And the woman says, oh, you don't need to pay $30, $40, $50. I read your bill for 10. Come, drags the woman behind her screen. 20 minutes later, we see the woman leaving, crying hysterically, and we all run over to find out what's going on. And the gypsy had said, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4. You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He's small, we good. And said, if the woman didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good. Only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks, and she bought it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
This is why I said the book must be written. And I started lecturing about it at psychic fairs, but by 2018, the book was out.
I guess you don't really hear about people getting a second opinion after a reading. You know, I mean, I totally would. If someone said that, all right, I'm going to go to someone else and just get verification here.
Well, there's that, and there's the person who goes to every single psychic until they get what they want to hear.
That's true.
That's the does Bruce love me stuff. And they beat on us. They really do.
Yeah.
Does Bruce love me? No. Well, is he going to love me? Not the way you want. Well, if I do such and such, will he love me? No. Okay. Is he going to call? No. Is he going to call later then? And they beat on us, hoping we will finally go, yes, yes. He loves you when he wants 7 babies with you, but he just doesn't know it yet. Oh, good. I thought so. Don't do that to us.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, this is all very pertinent information. Makes perfect sense and exactly what we're talking about. So the question is, how? How do you know whether someone's a gypsy, like you just mentioned, or otherwise?
Well, the clothes are not always the giveaway. So, what I did in the Psyche Healer Brick Road in the first 2 chapters are give you Psychics 101, the good, the bad, and the Cleos, and Psychics 102, how to prep for a great psychic experience. So let's go through Psychics 101. I give you the word psychic, and each one of those letters stands for something to look for. Number 1, professionalism. Professionalism doesn't mean they have to do it full time, but they have to respect general social conventions, respect you as a client, and respect other psychics. S stands for sharing references, and I tell you how to get references on an intuitive before you go. Y is you are in charge of your own life, and that's why I tell you, get a recording. Listen carefully. Some of it's going to be off the wall. Some of it is real. Put it away. Some of it might be right later. And I've got a story on that one after we go through this. PSYC. C is for charges. Yes, we are allowed to charge. We don't necessarily charge you $78,000, but we deserve to get paid. I mean, face it. I've been reading since 1983. I'm a certified tarot master, past life specialist. I've got certifications out the wazoo, and I read 1,000 people a year, and I have done for 20 years. You're not going to pay me $10 like I'm in Jackson Square in New Orleans. Okay? But I also teach you how to know when you should get your money back. It's unusual. PSYCH. Here I can fix anything for a price. And these are the stories about what you should be careful of. You know, we're not going to find you the lottery numbers. We're not going to make a neighbor move away, things like that. I stands for inappropriate actions, and this is the serious stuff. And C stands for connection. And I give a few paragraphs on all of that stuff so that by the end of that, you're going to have the tools to figure out, is this person any good at all, or are they just another Madame Hoo-Ha or Swami Swalanda, which you don't want to go to.
So I guess the modern version of all this, the gypsy, the Swami, all the scammers is on social media, right? When you get the grand rising love, I feel your energy strongly. Can I give you a reading?
Oh, man. Well, can I vomit now?
Yeah.
It drives me crazy because I do a free reading hour on my business Facebook page every month, kind of pro bono to give back to the universe, because some people don't have the money, but they have a question. So it's something I can answer in a couple of minutes. Yeah, boom. And in an hour, I'll read about 40 people. But invariably, someone will go, oh, beloved, I feel your energy, blah, blah, blah. And they'll try and poach off my page. Let me tell you, that's a scam artist. They will steal your credit card. They're liars and thieves, because no professional intuitive feels the desperate need to poach off somebody else's page.
Yeah.
So then how do you handle it? Well, the way I handle it is block and ignore, right? Delete. But there are some times where maybe you're in person and you are now suddenly being accosted for money for a reading that you have come in fully expecting to pay, but now, oh, there's a curse on you and I have to bathe you in skunk food and eggshells for an hour and it's going to cost you $7,500. How do you back
You stop
out?
them right in the middle of that. You say, I refuse the information. I did not ask for a reading. Get out of my face. And if they follow you, you report them to the promoter or whoever the head. I am being harassed.
I'm feeling an energy coming from you, Corbie.
Yeah.
Like you are.
You've been dealing with this for
This
a
has
while,
touched you.
Since Moses was in diapers. And the thing is, the person who does that is the Long Island medium.
Mm.
People see, somebody's in Wegmans filling up the cantaloupes and she walks up and goes, "Excuse me, your Aunt Doris? She says you have a bull tire in the back. You're going to die in a week if you don't fix it. She's telling you," and walks away. People think that really happened. No, it doesn't. I mean, get a clue. Her PR people go out and scout out all the Wegmans on Long Island and pick one. Then they interview everybody and have them sign legal model releases.
Mm-hmm.
And then they rehearse it 6 times.
Mm.
It ain't that real. But people think it is. And what I tell them is, if anything like that happens, you need to look at what the Lilydale mediums. Lilydale is one of the most famous spiritual enclaves in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might say, "My name is Reverend Shirley, and I believe I have a message for you. May I come to you?" That's the secret. Because if you say no, she zips it, she walks away. That's the universe saying that person's not ready. But especially the rookies, I refer to them as the glurpy purple with angels types. "Hi, I'm Little Dancing Raccoon, and here's my spirit guide, Arctic Bear." Henri,
Love her.
11 hours. I told you I do stand-up comedy for this. The shows in Canada were 11 hours. And at the end of the day, I'd be exhausted. My neck would have a crick and I'd do this. And invariably, one of the little rookies would go, "I know Reiki, let me fix it," coming at me like this. And I say, "No, thank you. Really, I could do this. I'd appreciate it if you didn't. Just let me. Stop it. Back off. You're not Mary Love and Light, are you?" Well, you didn't listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Number one, I am from New York.
What?
Number two, I've been in this business long enough that I know what's right and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have very strong self-boundaries. I mean, it's rare that I'm going to go for a reading myself. But if I do, and it's good, then I'm the one who tells everyone else about you.
Right.
On my free hour, there are certain things that I don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a health expert. I am not good with, occult floor washes, fixed candles, etc. And I'm not really an animal communicator. So there, I recommend 3 people: Stacey Wells for health, Katrina and Eric Rasbold for the occult stuff, and Catherine Knock for animal communications, because I have used them.
Mm-hmm.
And a good professional will not take money for what is not in their will.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. You mentioned the Long Island medium and that type of
Mhm.
psychic.
Mhm.
How normal is it, or how often do you get psychic messages for someone that's just walking down the street? Does it ever
Yeah.
happen, or so someone
Yeah,
actually you
because
have to
it's my
tune in?
rule. It's
right?
my rules. It is my rules. The deal I made with my guides. I mean, look, I read tarot for 20 years. In 1973, we were all hippies. We had our elephant bell bottoms and our David Crosby fringe jacket and a deck. But in the early 90s, with no training, all of a sudden I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people when I hung up my shoe. And I knew then I had to have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And the deal I made with my guides is, look, there has to be an energy exchange. We exchange money. It's a barter. They bring me a chicken, or it is deliberately pro bono. But I don't want to be one of those drive-by psychic shooting types. I won't.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much damage.
I mean, is it possible to be drive-by psychic? Are these messages real?
Yeah. But these are people whose ego is more important than the comfort of the person they're sending the reading to.
Because that person may not be ready for the messages that they're
Boom.
Yeah.
That's right. We are the tube it comes from. It is not us. It is not about us. I lost a reality show gig because they wanted to say, "Oh, she is brilliant. Nobody can do what she does." And I said, wait, whoa. That's a lie. I have always said I'm not special. You can do what I do so that other people will access their own abilities.
Mm-hmm.
They shrugged. They went off, Thomas John, seatbelt psychic, whatever. And everybody you'd ever seen in the Thomas John thing, they were all actors. It was all set up. So no, reality show is an oxymoron like jumbo shrimp.
Have you ever been in a situation where someone wants you to do a reading and you sit down and nothing comes?
Absolutely. Does not happen often, but I explain to them, if they want me to get a past life, I'll see their Akashic book of records and the page will be riffling and it'll be blank. I'll look at the cards and it's like all of a sudden I'm looking at the BBC shipping forecast. It's not there. And I tell them, I'm really sorry, but we're not connecting. Now, there are some cases that I do that deliberately. I don't do what I call remote spying. If John and Mary are dating, fine. But after they break up, they can't ask about each other.
Good.
And there was a woman in Canada who said, I want to know if my husband is sleeping with his mistress. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do remote spying. Oh, but can you tell me how many people he slept with? I'm sorry, Mrs. Forensic, but I don't do remote spying. Jeez, you're no good. Well, is he sick? Is he going to die soon and leave me his money? And I turned to my front person and said, Laura, I'm not connecting with Mrs. Forensic. Please give her back her money. And off she went.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not going to put my ethics through the ringer for you.
Yeah.
But you could do remote spying if you wanted to.
Karen.
But I will not.
No,
I wouldn't want it.
What?
No, seriously, I wouldn't want it done for me. There is one exception. Parents may spy on their children any damn way they can. But if your mom comes, same deal. Don't come to me.
I don't know. Her mom is pretty cunning.
I was just wondering because I didn't know if you could, I don't know, focusing on someone's
A lot of
energy, you're not the one
psychics
that's
do.
coming to you.
A lot of psychics love to tell you whether someone's cheating and where they're doing it. I'm sorry. What good does that do you?
Yeah.
Well, and then it comes to mind because I know on your book you mentioned the fact that psychics, I mean, you can't be 100% accurate, right?
Yep.
So how bad would you feel if you say, "Oh yeah, your husband is cheating with 15 women," and he's not, right? It's just coming that's coming to you, but it's not quite. So I can imagine how that might open you up. In fact, my next question is, how does that open you up to litigation? Has someone ever come to you and said,
Nope, because
No.
I'm very careful. But to flip it, when I was first reading, this is the one trick pony thing. There was a woman who was running the show. We'll call her Reverend Crotchety. She's long dead. And this was 5 months before I married my husband. And we still can't pass each other in the house without smooching. It's been 21 years.
"Oh, that's
Aw.
amazing"?
So
Hey.
she said, let me show you how we read it at the shows. And I was, brand new. So I said, great. She flips some cards and she goes, I'm so sorry, but your husband is sleeping with your best friend on a daily basis and he's siphoning money out of your bank account. Now, at that point, my best friend was in Thousand Oaks, California. I was outside of Albany, New York. Daily? Don't think so. And he didn't even know where I had a bank account. But then she said, it's all right. I'll tell you how to deal with it. And told me how she took her last 4 husbands to the cleaners. Muddy channels give muddy information.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
makes perfect sense.
our job is to say, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the top stuff. Here's how to get through or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll. We leave them their free will.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're jumping all over the place. Going like, I feel like a
Mhm.
ping pong.
I know, but I have
machine.
one more ping pong question.
No, I've got several other ping pong questions. So
Sorry, who's got the paddle?
Have you ever done a reading with someone and they're like, nope, that's wrong? And just been like how
sure.
do you handle that?
Right. That's one of my favorite stories. They're all from Canada. Yeah, I used to go to Kitchener 3 times a year. Okay. First weekend in January, Victoria Day and Labor Day. One Labor Day, I did a reading for a woman and I told her a couple of things I saw and she gets up and she goes, you suck. And she walks away.
Wow.
January, who's the first person who sits in my chair?
same
She
person.
goes, last time I said you sucked. I said, yes, I remember. Because you told me that I was going to take an aborter and then I was going to sell my house. And then I thought that was all bull. But my daughter got pregnant and moved home. And now I'm going to sell my house to raise my son. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you messenger.
Wow.
Well, at least she was honest.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, she ate some crow.
So along the same lines, people always say when you go to a psychic, you can't don't even give them your name. Like just sit there and go. They should know what questions I have or any information that should come out.
You catch the look.
I'm catching the look.
That's
Let me
like
bring you full
trying to
screen.
climb Everest in sneakers. There's no grip. Now, there are some people who you sit down and it's like hitting a button. And the best one in the world that did that was my very dear friend, Allie Cheslick, to whom the book is dedicated. We called Allie Chatty Cathy of the Dead because she was, and now that she is, she still is. Never try to do a show with Allie where, you're supposed to, you'll do 5 minutes, I'll do 5 minutes, because people would sit down and Allie would go, oh, I got to tell you, 20 minutes later. Okay. But because I am a very practical person, I would much rather really hone in on what you want and save you money. If we can get everything done in a half an hour, why pay me for an hour reading? So when you sit with me, I will say, what's the most important thing you want to get out of your knowing? And if you go blank on me, I'll go Brooklyn on you. Go, darling, what's biting your butt? Because everybody's got one of those. And that's what we practice on. But the thing is, I don't just do 3-card flips. If you said, I want to start a new vintage clothing store, I would not throw 3 cards and say, wait until January and fire the redhead. Nah. It would be a card for you, card for your partner in the business, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible. Don't ask me, will my business succeed? Because what if I looked at you and said, no, and you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? Wrong question. You always ask what empowers you. That's key. Same thing with relationships. Does Bruce love me? Well, let's look. You, Bruce, the relationship, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. I'm still not sure. Then I do your 3 threes. 3 cards for status quo. You just kind of bumble along. 3 cards for the come to Jesus meeting, and you do serious counseling. And 3 cards for hostile and bye-bye. It's been nice. I'll send you a postcard. I'm done. And I don't care if leave has the Beetlejuice sign on the astral. If you go, I guess I'll just stick it out. I have to zip it because it's your free will.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that that's an exception is if you tell me you're being gaslit, battered, abused. Then the reader's turban comes off and my reverend collar goes on, and I will do pastoral counseling after you leave because your life's in danger.
Mm-hmm.
But only then.
You speak specifically about spirit guides and angels and whether they're the same or different. I'm going to have you hold that answer because we got to take a break. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you about your thoughts on spirit guides and angels. Are they the same? Are they different? And I also want to talk to you about, is there ever a time when it's inappropriate for someone to go to a psychic? We will get the answer to those questions when we come back right after this break. And we are back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. We are talking to Corbie Mitleid, who is an unbelievable everything. She's a psychic. She's a tarot reader. She's a ordained reverend, but she's here specifically to talk to us about the difference between real psychics and fake ones and how to tell the difference, along with a bunch of other things.
And I think her nickname should be the Tell It Like It Is Psychic, because this woman is direct, and I love that.
We need a lot more people like you in the world, Corbie, especially in this industry. So I salute you first and foremost for what you're doing. And a lot of this information that you're sharing with us comes from your book, The Psychic's Yellow Brick Road. And we're going to dive a little bit more into that in a second. But before we do that, we teased a question right before the break. We mentioned that there might be a time where it's inappropriate to go to a psychic. Is that the case? And if so, when is that?
If you are not willing to listen to us, then I mean, if you're going to go to 5 psychics until one of them says, yes, Bruce loves you, don't do this. If you're sure you know the answer to something. I mean, we've talked about the thing about does Bruce love me? But one of my favorites, my supervisor at work is mean to me. Is she going to get any nicer? No. Is her supervisor going to make her stop harassing me? No. Is she going to fire me? No. But if she doesn't like people, she fires them. Are you sure she won't fire me? It doesn't appear so in anything I'm saying. All right, I have a meeting with her tomorrow. Is she going to fire me then, or should I quit first? Hello, are you listening? Was she waiting? Don't come to us if you want minutia. One of the most amazingly bad ones that I ever got was a woman who was asking things like, does God want me to report so-and-so for not having her taxes on time? This person has gone from this job to this job. Does that mean that God doesn't like them? And what? God is not like our 3rd grade friend that likes us Monday and hates us on Tuesday because we wore the same shoes as they did. Get a clue. There are certain things that spirit guides and angels want to talk to us about.
Mhm.
Those are our spiritual things. But they are not going to tell you whether to buy the Honda or the Subaru. They're not.
That was going to be my next question.
Sorry, darling.
Yeah.
Me,
Out of luck.
we're a Subaru family. Go with a Subaru.
I've heard they're great cars, but yeah.
Will, you mentioned that there is a is there a difference between angel guides or spirit guides and angels? See, now I've mixed them all together. So,
Yep. Do you remember in math class Venn diagrams?
Yeah.
Those are the
Yep. And they,
well, the Venn diagram, right? The Venn diagram for angels and spirit guides is a donut. The angels live in the hole of the donut.
Oh.
We all have at least one angel. They are with us from birth to death.
Mhm.
And our names are kind of in the back of their tunics, like little can pegs. You know, I belong to Will, I belong to Karen. Spirit guides are the donut because they will grow and change as we do. You don't always have the same one. When I started really doing this work in the very early 90s, my first couple of spirit guides were people I flew with 100 years ago in World War I. Do I still have connection with them? Of course. You know, they were my heart friend. But now I work much more with my angel as my primary guide. And there's probably going to be another one coming in this year at some point. I've already gotten the clues on that one. But they grow and change the way we do because you don't have the same teacher from kindergarten and PhD, and they are here to help us learn. They can be people you've known. They can be spirit guide animals. They can be avatars. They can be ETs. They can be energy signatures. And all angels are spirit guides, but not all spirit guides are angels. Perfect example. My father, who was my best friend, often will come in when someone does want me to do a medical scan for them.
Mhm.
There was a woman in way upstate, like around the Thousand Lakes region, I think. She's 74, still nursing. She said, could you just tell me how I look? Yeah, health-wise. And I feel the rustle of a coat behind me, and I point to the empty air, and I said, I'd like to introduce you to my father, Dr. Jerome Dworkin. He was a fabulous cardiologist, and he still does consults. So now I know from nothing about medicine. Everybody else in my family is medicine. I was theater major, I was a writer, I was a rebel. But I open up, and what comes out of my mouth is what's with the T waves. She looks at me. She had abnormal T waves on her electrocardiogram. What did my father do for 30 years as director of the heart station at Cooper Hospital in Camden, New Jersey, but read EKGs?
Mhm.
And so I look over my shoulder and I laugh and I say, you're still a pretty damn good doctor, even if you are dead.
How did she take it?
Her jaw dropped.
Yeah,
Her jaw dropped.
I can only imagine. Yeah. Interesting, because someone has mentioned that I've had a spirit guide with me for my entire life. And ever since then, I've been kind of in contact with Mariana, who is my spirit guide. But if that spirit guide has been with me my whole life, would that necessarily mean that it's not really a spirit guide, but rather an angel then, because she's been there?
No. Could be she's just, look, I don't ever expect my father to leave, when I cross over, I expect him to be there, having the limo picking me up. But the thing is, they don't have to stay.
Gotcha.
If Mariana has decided, you don't know if you knew Mariana in a past life.
Mhm.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that she's not real or that she's not a spirit.
Right.
She just likes hanging out.
Which brings me to my next question, because you mentioned the people that flew with you in World War I 100 years ago. What do you feel about the concept of a soul family? That these souls that reincarnate with you again and again, or that are there to help you in your path, could those be your spirit guides, or is that something completely different?
No. They could be. Let's go back to Dad. In our pre-birth planning session, I was looking at what I needed to learn. In Robert Schwartz's books, he talks the karma is not carrot and stick, bad and good. Karma is 5 things: unbalanced energy, healing, service, contrast, and healing of beliefs. So when I was, or my higher self was, fashioning this personality and what they wanted to learn, we knew I would need a best friend as a father. My father normally comes in as my best friend, same generation. But that soul agreed to come in as my father this time so that I could go through the traumatic stuff I would need to and still have someone at my back.
Now, ping-ponging again, unless, Karen, you have another follow-up question.
I want to hear yours.
Okay, ping-ponging again. we all know after doing the show for as long as we have, we know that everyone is psychic in some way, shape, or form.
That's right.
Is it better to develop your own sense of psychic senses, or is it better to reach out to someone like you who can really show the ropes without breaking a sweat?
If you love the idea of being able to reach your own guide, if you love the idea of being able to douse, find water, if you love the idea of really being able to read, then sure, absolutely. Look, I'm 68. 30, 40 years, I will be dead. And we will need more psychics. Even if you choose not to use it publicly, stretch yourself a little bit. If you know that you can always reach that guide and you don't need to pay me $65 for 15 minutes, you've always got that friend with you.
Mm-hmm.
But just remember that the work takes skill and you will have to practice. One of the things that drives me nuts, I tell you, is Ouija boards.
Oh.
It's steam coming out of my ears.
I have my own thought about the Ouija boards, but I'm curious to hear what you think about them.
Okay. If you mess with a Ouija board where you don't know how to ground, center, and shield, that is like throwing open your door in a strange neighborhood and yelling free beer. You do not know who's out there, but they heard you and they're coming. And for everybody who always says, oh, but it's in the toy department, how dangerous can it be? This happens at lectures. I say, okay, somebody who has a child or a grandchild under 10? Hands go up. You, what's the kid's name? Joshy. How old is Joshy? Joshy's 8. Okay. Joshy goes, Grandma, I got all A's on my report card and you said we could go pick a toy out. Let's go. And he drags you over to the box he says everybody has. And the box says my first chainsaw. It's in the toy department. Gonna let him play with it by himself? I don't think so.
That's a fair point.
That is a good point.
Point made. Absolutely. Now, what about channeling and mediums? Are they the same? Are they different? What's the difference?
They are different. First, let's look at psychic medium. All mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. Mediums talk to dead people. Channels talk to everybody else, whether it's angels or spirit guides or, automatic writing, whatever. But mediums specifically talk to the dead.
So kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, if someone wants to develop their psychic abilities, if they come to you and they know they want to do something, but they don't know what, can you kind of look at them and say, well, I think you'd be good at this? Like, how does that work?
We do look at it that way. Yes. First thing I do is I tell them to get this book. It's called Opening to Channel, How to Connect with Your Guides by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. It's how I learned years ago. And it's a great book for boot camp. One of the things that we do is we talk about what's your interest, because when you say to spirit, me, I volunteer, I'll go play. It goes rifling through your internal file cabinet to see what you got. What's my background? Theater major at Brown University. I acted in New York. I understand characters and motivations. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer. I can tell the stories. And I have loved history since I was a wee thing in single digits. You put all that together, and what are my favorite tools? Tarot and oracle cards, which tell stories, and past life retrieval. Now, difference between retrieval and regression. Regression is when you are hypnotized and you go up into the Akashic and you find your stuff. And it must only be done by a certified past life specialist or hypnotherapist in case you get stuck in trauma.
Ooh.
I am someone who goes and gets it for you. I am a retrieval person. I'm picking around in stories that I could do. Quick on this one. Another woman over here, she's also good at past lives. You give us the same vision. She could say, well, it's a long skirt and a big hat and you're in front of something very ornate. So I think this is somewhere in Europe, maybe the 19th century. I could look at the same thing and go, okay, hobble skirt, picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather. You were in front of the Brandenburg Gate, so this is Berlin in 1911. Which one's going to give you more information? On the other hand, do not ask me to do spirit art because I can't hold a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer and draw a stick figure. You
and me both, Corbie. You and me both. Karen, on the other hand, she's a Picasso.
I don't know about that. Not intentionally. They end up looking like a Picasso, and it's not supposed to be that way.
That is so not true. You are an excellent artist. Don't get me started on that. But you have given us so much information let's go back to your book for a second. It's
Sure.
called The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, so that you can find the real wizards from the flying monkeys.
And avoid the flying monkeys. That's right.
I love that title.
Well, I think that resonates with you specifically because you're always saying you did not want to be that guy that looked like a fool, being taken by a charlatan.
Why do you think I'm resonating with this conversation so strongly?
That's why I'm letting you talk more.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Now, if you had one thing to say, someone wants to read your book, is there something that you want them to know before they open it?
Yes. This book is not telling you, therefore, I'm the only good psychic. I don't care if you never come to me. If by reading this book, you stay away from the ones that will give you dangerous information or take your money, and you go find good intuitive counselors, I did my job, and thank you.
So this is not to toot your own horn, but rather to help those that want to discern and get the right results from the right people.
That's right.
Corbie, thank you so much for your service, because that truly is an unbelievably needed service, especially in these days. So thank you for that. Is this only for people that are looking for psychics, or can other psychics read the book and get a lot out of it?
Oh, you're kidding. Psychics read this book and laugh and go, geez, I wish I had this when I was starting. So yes, anybody can read the book.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and giving us all this information. I know that I'm going to dive headfirst into this book. We're going to add the links directly to the book in our show notes, as well as the book that you just talked about earlier about channeling as well. But if someone wanted to reach out directly, they didn't want to go to the show notes, what's the best way for them to touch base with you?
Oh, God, they can't avoid me. They really can't. You go to my website, corbiemitleid.com. That has hundreds of articles and talks about all the different readings I do, and you can book there. You can also find me on Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Medium. And if you want to learn with me on a monthly basis, you find me on Patreon.
Great. And you can do readings and everything remotely?
I have clients in Rio de Janeiro. They really don't want to come to Schoharie with the sheep and the cows, trust me.
I mean, I'm sure they would probably enjoy the trip, but it's not always in the cards, pardon the pun.
No.
All right, Corbie, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time and appreciate you for everything that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Welcome. I had a great time.
Well, thanks for coming along on this journey of discovery with us. We'd love to continue our conversation with you on our website at skepticmetaphysician.com or on Facebook and Instagram under this podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing the messages we're sharing on the show, do them and us a favor and share the show with them. It will help get the word out about us, and it may just change someone's life for the better. And if you're listening to this on the radio and you missed something, well, not to worry. All of our shows, including this one, can be found at skepticmetaphysician.com, where you can also watch the videos or even send us an email or voicemail directly from the site. We absolutely love feedback and would appreciate hearing from you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. That's all for now. We'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.